Well, hello everybody and welcome. I'm Robert Helms and with me is Beth Clifford.
Hello.
We're happy to be talking to you today, the investors in the Mahogany Bay Village project, and there's a lot going on, and we want to bring you up to speed with several things. You've been seeing the monthly videos and hopefully watching those, so you've seen the progress on the project part of it. Today, we're here in Cape Cod talking with our brand new hotel operator, and that's part of the news we're going to share with you. We're really excited about leaving a meeting with a huge number of really amazing people. Just had a big team meeting with our design and marketing folks, our technology folks, the hotel operator, and we have a lot to share. It's not going to be a tremendously long video because you're busy, but there's a lot we want to share. And I think where it starts really, Beth, is how this project and the vision for this project has evolved.
You bet, because Robert, we've been in Belize for over 9 years, and we've always had a vision about building more hotel rooms and filling the void that's in the tourist market down there. And when we started out 3 or 4 years ago, it was really all about build some rooms, take care of the overflow, and get them rented. And that was sort of the initial thing that we started out with, and which was a good vision, but we have a kind of a bigger vision right now.
Yeah, first of all, if you've been to Belize or if you've heard about it, the big need is overnight accommodations, more hotel rooms. What's happened though is as we've set out on this project, which is the largest single residential resort project in Ambergris Key, is that a lot of really great things have happened. And part of it is we've attracted great people, and our team has helped us get a little bigger vision, which in the long run is going to be the best possible thing for all of our investors.
It is absolutely true, and there's a huge market that still gets bigger and bigger, and what they've made us very clearly understand is that you only get to open once, and so that's a lot of our thought behind what we're going to be sharing with you today.
Yeah, and so the good news is you're going to see some of the new attributes and elements of the project. The bad news is the timing has changed a little bit, but when we take that in whole, I think you're going to be very excited about what's going on. So we had to come up with a vision other than let's have a hotel overflow for Victoria House. We had to have a vision that was about this being a really key resort.
Yep, and really what we've done is we've gone completely over that and said, what if we were to go build the most authentic Belizean experience for the coolest people in the world? Like, what if we really made a difference in hospitality? So instead of just doing overflow, what if we created the greatest product, not only in Belize, but in the Caribbean?
And we feel that the product that's been designed is amazing, and it really celebrates Belize. And we're going to go through some of the core values so you understand how it fits in. But really, the whole idea of this is to drive value. It allows us to attract the right people, not just any people. And long-term, as investors, it lengthens the longevity of our value proposition.
It does, and when you really start out with a big goal and with a big vision, most of our investors are in it for the long term.
Right.
They're not in for the quick buck, like let's go make a couple of dollars and let's flip this in and out.
Right.
This is all about a long-term investment, and so that means that you need to have the right product to the right customer, and the longer that you do it with a better product, they're going to be repeat customers, they're going to keep coming back. So it was the right value proposition when we went through it.
Absolutely, and a big part of it is to really set this part of the project up as the groundwork, the foundation for expansion. It's a big project, 421 lots, 60 plus acres. And if you think about it, really the idea of building the same product in 421 lots at 3 to 4 doors per, it's 1,200, 1,400, 1,600 little white buildings.
And you can't do that.
That's probably not the right thing.
Probably not going to do it.
Yeah, so we've got to start now to really build the vision, and we've obviously been working on this a lot. And many of the things that we report to you are after there's been some considerable time and energy and money spent to go figure it out. So you're going to see the culmination of a lot of that. Because instead of just building a hotel, we want to create a great 21st century resort destination.
We absolutely do.
We think Belize is still poised brilliantly. It's a great place. It's beautiful. The people are awesome. #1 island in the world 2 years in a row. Everything about it is right. The timing is right. So we've decided if we can't go big, we're going to go home. And we're going to make this, I think, a better value and, more importantly, better return for the investors. So let's talk about our core values.
You bet. So we had to go from the bottoms up and say, say, when we go and we build it, what is the value proposition that we're going to be delivering to our customer? And so we came up with 6 different identifying areas that starts to describe the experience that we're going to be delivering into the product. So number 1 is it's all about artisanal, which is that handcrafted feel, which really came about, Robert, when we built the buildings, because it was all about celebrating Belize and doing it with the craftsmanship that's there in the Belizean community. The other is everybody wants to be healthy today. People want to have healthy lifestyles, and that helps us to articulate and say yes and no to the right choices and the right vendors that come onto the property.
And healthy isn't about lecturing to people.
No.
It's about the active lifestyle that people have when they go to Belize. I mean, you know, I wear my fuel band, and in Belize, I can go back on my computer and I say, oh, I was in Belize during this period.
Yep,
I was in Belize, right? Because you're moving and you're you're running, you're shaking, and it's a healthy lifestyle too, because there's no GMOs, there's no pesticides, it's all organic, all that kind of stuff, which is naturally there, but we're here to celebrate that. So we think that the resort of the 21st century is much more about health than it is necessarily indulgence.
That's absolutely true. And the other thing about it too is about having fun. With like how many people, they go on vacation, they want to have fun and they want to have excitement, and it's about creating an experience where people go, that was unexpected, that was memory making for me, I'm creating a legacy for my family. So you have to really start thinking out of the box, and I know that's such a cliche, Robert, but you have to really start thinking about what your programming looks like so that it's memory making. People are coming back and they're Instagramming and they're Facebooking and they're tweeting about how great this place is, and so that then starts to create the momentum that more people want to come on property, which drives ADR, which drives occupancy, which drives RevPAR, which drives in return on investment.
Absolutely. And our 4th core value is smart. Smart's interesting because everyone thinks they're smart, but it shows up in lots of different ways. First of all, when you're shopping for a hotel, you want to be smart about the money you're going to spend. You want good value. You don't want the cheapest, but you want the best. It also speaks to the programming, the technology that we're bringing. And you're going to hear more in the future because the technology piece is a really, really big piece of this resort. You might not think so on a little sand island, but it's extraordinary. We've just spent a couple days here with the technology team, and it's amazing what's happening. But it's because today's traveler wants to be smart. They want to be connected. They want to be part of something and be able to work a little if they have to. Have that conference call if you need to.
Yep, and you know, people today, they work all the time. So many people are nomadic travelers. They've got their own businesses, and so they want to stay connected even while they're on vacation. And then, you know, another one of our values, Robert, is about being adventurous, and that really comes from the ground up in Belize. And because what is Belize? Belize is an adventure. The people who come to Belize are not tourists; they're travelers. That's a different kind of people. It's not the people who go to Hawaii, sit on the beach, and drink pina coladas all day. The people who come to Belize want an adventure. And what's important for us is to deliver and be an on-ramp and to be a great concierge for them to have the adventure in their life, and for our product to speak adventure, and so that it actually feels adventurous when you're on the product.
Well, and adventure just isn't ziplining and cave tubing. Adventure is exploring something you haven't done before, understanding how the history and legacy of Belize turns into fun things to do, what people do with their time. It's an adventure, even if it isn't a wild adventure, because they're going to be unexpected, surprised and delighted on the property. And maybe one of the most important core values is authenticity, to be authentic, to have a real Belize experience.
Yep, and that was always been our architecture started at that from the very beginning. And our whole idea for 9 years down there is really what is great about Belize is Belize.
Yeah.
We don't need to build Greece in Belize. We don't need to build Italy in Belize. If I want to go to Italy, I'll go to Italy. And then I'll meet Italians when I go to Italy. What's great about Belize is the Belizean people. And so what we've always felt that we wanted to do was to have this transparency at the resort where you got to really interact with the Belizean people, eat their food, understand their culture, make friends with Belizeans, because they're wonderful, engaging people. You want to go off property. This isn't a place where there's people with guns on the outside of the property protecting you from the local people.
Right.
You want to have that experience to be with those people. They're great people.
Absolutely, they are. And it's been interesting because the team we've just met with, 11 of us for 2 solid days, most have been to the property, most have been to Belize. Not all yet, but most. And every one of them, without exception, has a different perception now than they did before they went, and over the top better than they thought. But what the main thing was this authenticity. Like, they couldn't believe how real the place was, how great the people were, and if you've been, you know all of that. So we spent a lot of time on these words because that's kind of the core values of the resort, and helping the marketing and imaging and design team understand that part of it, which has been brilliant, and how that's translated now into what really is the village. We talked a lot about the name, Mahogany Bay Village. Everyone loves the word mahogany, not just because it's what we build with, but because it's strong and it's steadfast and it's high level and it's refined. All those things. Bay, obviously, the water word, important, but village really comes down to the heart of it. So what is a village above and beyond a resort?
You know what I find really interesting is Bill Marriott about 2 weeks ago wrote about what the future of hospitality is, and he says basically the resort that's away from everything is a thing of the past,
right? And
that what people want to do now is that they want to be part of a community and part of a village, which I thought was just, it's like Bill Marriott is actually advocating what we're building, which is what people want, to be connected to things. People want, it's that new urbanism. It's that, in the last 70 years of real estate, we've seen where people lived in the cities, where they went to the suburbs, where they went to the exurbs, and now what we see is that everybody's moving back into the urban centers again. And so we've seen the pendulum move away, and now we're seeing it all move back in again. And you talk to a millennial couldn't even think about living anything other than an urban core. And so this whole pendulum is moving back. And it comes too with the way that people are traveling now, is that people aren't as willing to go and be away from it all. They're not going to the sun cities of the world. They want to be in a vibrant place where they have interchange, they have a way of living with other people and brushing up against them and having experiences. It's about an experience as opposed to just getting away from it all. And
Such a good point.
It really is. And so Bill Marriott sees it, and he's thinking the same way in his own products, which is, how do we now create this connectivity, whereas before we're in business parks, we're outside of the airports, and they're in properties that are not physically in the middle of centers anymore. And they're like, how do we, inside of the Marriott properties that are away, create villages within it so there is this local and tourist interaction? And that's where they're saying that is the stumbling block. That's the thing that we've got to go figure out. And if we could go pick up all of our hotels and push them into these villages, then we would go do it.
One of the things that happened this week is one of the team members shared with us a report on the new traveler, what that means, the person who's traveling. Again, not tourism in the classic sense, but a traveler, someone that wants to explore. And a lot of the experience they want is a legitimate local experience. They don't want the manufactured, I went to the Dominican Republic. Well, except I never left the property. I only ate the food that they provided.
That's correct.
I didn't really interact with Dominican Republicans. I didn't react with or have any contact with the real food or the real culture. Belize is so gritty and real and cool, and the culture is so awesome that having that culture permeate the resort and the village is important.
Yeah, and for us, when we look at the village, it's all about, as a developer, it's about us not prescribing what is going to be on the entire property, because we've got 67 acres there, Robert, and you and I are not smart enough to go program and prescribe what 67 acres of property is going to go do. It's going to organically grow, and it's going to decide what it's going to go do on its own. But we obviously, because we've put the 6 pillars together, can say yes and no to different things because we know what we're looking for, because we know what the overall vision is. But the village allows us to organically grow up all different kinds of amenities that complement what is the hotel part of the property. So is it retail? Yes, it is. Is it a general store where I can go get grab and go food, pick up a coffee, or go pick up a French toast, or go pick up something and bring it back to my room? Yes, that's there. Are the sundries there? Absolutely. Do I have an opportunity to go buy gifts to bring home to my friends and family? Absolutely do. Do we have a village center in the middle of it, which turns into really a new place, a new public area for not only resort people and the people who live at Mahogany Bay, but for the locals to come to. That this is the new place where we all get together Sunday afternoon after we've had church and we all want to go have a big barbecue and have a movie night or wherever else. No, that's at the Village Green, because that's where the locals are, that's where the tourists are, that's where the travelers are, that's where the expats are. We start to build that really great vernacular place on San Pedro.
And then ultimately it grows into even a bigger village with more restaurants and more shops and more retail. And there's ways that we integrate that in quickly. Deborah Burns, our retail consultant, is masterful at this. She was the originator of the pop-up store, the idea that something can appear temporary just to meet a need, like grill night, like putting up a retailer, a local craftsperson, artisan who comes in for the night or for a weekend and shares their wares, an artist that comes out, but doesn't necessarily occupy a store full time, to see what works and to see what people are interested in.
Right, and that really gives us an opportunity for us to offer a venue for locals to come and celebrate the things that they do and bring it to a whole new market, and that interchange and that energy between those two, the traveler and the local, to start to take place at Mahogany Bay.
One of the things that the hotel operators pointed out is that there's tremendous opportunity. We've known this and felt it for group travel, for affinity travel, for family travel and reunions and weddings. Huge opportunity for weddings in Belize, and hardly anyone's doing it because they don't have the facilities, they don't have the size, it's not convenient. And so we're really putting emphasis on the conference center, which we've always had on the drawing board. It's one of the early things we wanted to have, recognizing the need. But that's been moved up to the front of the line. We'll talk about timing before we're done. But a critical part of filling hotel rooms and creating return for investors is giving them a reason to go other than scuba diving and snorkeling and fishing.
Right. And that hasn't been done at all in Belize, because the largest conference room is how large, Robert?
Well, the largest conference room in San Pedro is the one above the Sunbreeze Hotel, which holds maybe 25 people. 25
people. And so you can't have a wedding there, you can't have any major, you can't go take your company down there for a big planning meeting, etc. And so we think there's a big opportunity for us to drive traffic into Mahogany Bay Village by bringing in group travel.
Absolutely. Now we have another exciting thing we're not going to be able to share all the details with right now, but do we have a gym? Do we have a spa? Do we have a fitness center? All that is rolling into kind of a really cool unified umbrella, if you will.
It is, and it's really starting to rethink what does spa, what does that look like? And when you start looking at our whole core values, it starts to say it looks more about wellness than it does about kind of the foo-foo spa things. Now we'll have some of that pampered spa things inside of it, but it's really about how can I have a life-changing event happen for me at Mahogany Bay, where I might come down and say, hey, I'd like to know more about my body, and how do I sleep, and how can I lose weight if I really wanted to, or where is the next milestone for me in my life as I want to be healthy. And I want to do better things. I actually want to focus a little bit on myself. And then there's also an opportunity. And so it's a product that we're currently working on, which is called the Science and Soul Center. And it's really about people to, number one, understand where they are, how they can create healthy living, and how they can extend that after they leave at Mahogany Bay. So that's an exciting opportunity that we're currently in the charrette mode with, about designing a whole new way of delivering wellness and spa and gym in a way that's really different.
So what we want to do next is introduce you to the team. And some of the team you've met and you've seen interviewed on the updates, and some of the team you don't know about. Obviously, Beth and I are with Platinum Coast Partners. Even that is changing. We have a new entity structure, and as you're getting correspondence from us in the future, it'll come from Green Development Partners. It's not any big change in ownership or any of that. It's just a matter of having the right entity at the right time. So just when you see Green Development Partners, that's kind of our new entity. Our Studio Sky, the architects, right? Still the amazing set of architects. Right now, what are they busy on? Designing the next buildings.
They are, because what's next? I mean, we've got hotel rooms, and today, Robert, we're at we will land our 100th house on September 8th, believe it or not. And so on September 8th, we'll be at 124 keys. We'll be sitting on the ground, which is just remarkable. We continue to put 3.5 units or 3.5 keys per week is our average of what we're putting down onto the ground. So the next part of this is, okay, great, we got the hotel rooms. Next, what's getting layered in is landscaping. All of the site utilities are getting laid into the property. But then the big pieces is, what is the front of house? What does the restaurants look like? The conference center, the pool club, the bay club, all of that, the general store, restaurants coming on. So that's what the architects are doing right now. So they are very busy putting together, it looks like all of the existing product, but it's now, how do I make those things look bigger and better? How do I handle front of house? How do I handle valet? Where is parking going to be? Where is the busboy going to be? Where is the bell captain going to be? Where's the kitchen? All of that stuff. And so that's what we're currently laying down onto the property and getting into the full schematic mode. So
we're also getting
busy.
very, very close on the first 2 single-family floor plans.
Oh, that's a good point.
We've been kicking these around for quite some time because the plan is Streets 2 and Streets 3 are pretty much the resort, the overnight accommodations, at least for now. That's what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And then Street 4, the first street of single-family homes.
Yeah, and so we've got a product that's ranging all the way from a townhouse product all the way up to a 5-bedroom house. And these are for people who could be lock and leaves. They can also put them in the rental pool if they want to, or they can just live in them 100% of the time. So a big variety that goes from a 2-bedroom product all the way up to a 5-bedroom product, and absolutely beautiful.
So Steve and Eric and Julie are super busy at Studio Sky, and another busy man, Ken Grissom, our construction manager. Oh my goodness.
And the man is just like a trooper, like none other. I mean, and so because Ken, and we've got so much going on, we've brought in somebody to backfill behind Ken that helps to do kind of the day-to-day and kind of do all of that site stuff and take over the day-to-day management, because Ken is really an innovator and a kickoff kind of guy and an entrepreneur. And so his next level is that we've got him focused on the new big buildings and how do we get those put in. And so we've brought in a great person from the United States who's worked with Ken in the past, who's got 40 years of construction management, just an unbelievable guy. And so the two of them are going to be just Ken on the big stuff, the new stuff coming out of the ground and innovating on that end. And then Pete just come down on August 11th. He's full-time on the ground to backfill behind him and just to keep the machine rolling.
Pete's a great guy, tons of experience, also a very avid scuba diver.
That's
so
for sure.
It wasn't hard to lure him to Belize.
That was an easy sell,
That was
wasn't
an
it?
easier sell. Let's talk landscaping. You
Yep.
know if you've been to Belize, or even if you watch the video, that landscaping is going to be such a critical part of the success at Mahogany Bay Village,
Mm-hmm.
because right now it's sandy and barren and the houses look great, but the landscaping is just barely there. Talk about the landscaping team.
We did. We've got a great team who has done tons of work. Most of their work is in New England. You're like, well, why are you hiring them? But they've also done a lot of Caribbean work themselves. What they are is great designers, but they're also great nurserymen. So they really understand how do you go cultivate local materials, how do you take care of those, how do you create your own nursery infrastructure. And so because we've got 67 acres, what you can't do, 67 acres is almost impossible to go into a nursery and say, I need plant material for 67 acres.
Right.
That's like, are you really? And so what they're doing is rationalizing the entire value and supply chain of how do we go get that material, what are we going to use that's sustainable, that is drought tolerant, how do we pick out 5 species that is all over the islands and cultivate it, develop it on property, create our own nursery program, and then how do we then lay those species down onto the property so that it is the most effective design that we can go do. But what they do, secondly, is they create incredible moments of landscape. And those are the aha moments. Those are the surprises as you walk around the corner and you see this water feature that's just off the charts, or it's a herb garden, or et cetera, et cetera. That's what they're wonderful at, which is the accent parts of landscape that sits within a rationalized fabric that you need to have, because you just can't have 67 acres of special landscaping. Right. What you need to have is 55 acres of great fabric of landscaping that you then have these moments that are just tremendous around.
super excited to see what the guys are going to do,
Yeah, they're
and
great.
it'll
They're a great
continue
group.
to roll out as the time goes by and as they figure it out and get down there more. You know, we're very excited about what's happening in retail, obviously, and if you've been watching the videos, you've seen our interview with Deborah Byrne, her company, Retail Resources. She's out looking for particular types of tenants.
Yep.
Some will be owners, and so where that's going to go exactly, we can't say there's going to be this store and that store and this store. What we can tell you is she's searching for the best of the best.
And what we have is a whole programming of uses that we desire on the property. And so those have been clearly articulated about who we're looking for. And then we've got a very specific program about who we're inviting to go into that. And so she's got a whole program about how do you go get people from the United States, local, or how you incubate businesses in order to bring together a really robust downtown that offers really rich amenities, not only for the traveler, but for everybody in San Pedro. So from the guy who's digging ditches to the family that wants to come on property to the locals, it doesn't matter. There's something for everybody inside of Mahogany Bay Village.
And in a lot of ways, it was Deborah that really started getting our thinking elevated in terms of what the possibilities were here. She worked on so many big projects, and our project is big for the market, but not big compared to what she's done. And it really has led us to this kind of new direction. And the next few team members you're going to meet are new to the team.
Yep.
And the first one we want to introduce you to is a company called The Mix. They're based in New York City, branding and design firm.
Unbelievable. I mean, these people like roll with all the big guys, and so we wanted to make sure that like always we get the best. And so for advertising and branding, where do you go for the best?
Got to be New York City,
I think
Madison
there was a
Avenue.
thing called Mad Men, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
And I
right.
think that was off of Madison Avenue,
Yeah.
right? And so we made some interesting. We went and looked at a lot of different people, but we're really comfortable with The Mix because The Mix, number one, understands hospitality. They understand residential. They understand resort development. They
Yep.
understand real estate development.
Done a lot of
they
real
live,
estate.
eat, and breathe all of this stuff. And so they're brilliant at, number one, connecting the dots. They're brilliant at understanding what the value propositions are, all the way from the people who are coming for nightly stays to the resort owners. And what blew us away was that they're not only connected, but they're also the people who are responsible for messaging the largest project currently going on in the United States. And that's with the related group doing Hudson Yards in New York City.
Hudson Yards is immense. It is the single largest real estate development project on planet Earth. It's amazing, and these folks are messaging it, and the lessons they've learned that they've shared with us already have been huge,
Right.
and not on our dime, on Related's dime. But not only that, they've also been very involved with a big shift in what's happening in hospitality, working for Hilton.
Yeah.
Hilton has changed their room service model a ton, which is a hard thing to change in an old brand, and yet what they've done is brought vibrancy and freshness and more profit to that whole part of the business. But it's not just hotel, resort, and real estate. They've worked with Mercedes-Benz and big healthcare companies and educational companies and
Yep.
really diverse company in so many ways, but really excited to have them on the team.
And they've got beautiful work. I mean, their work is beautiful. They're very concise. They're on message. And even better, Robert, they understand technology. So they understand where the bleeding edge is, where the leading edge is. And so where do we need to be? Is it an app? How do we do it? How do we use Instagram? How do you get the most bang for the buck? What works? What doesn't work, etc.
Well,
So-
and speaking of technology, we have a brand new technology team. But what's really exciting about this is at this level of conversation, we brought them in to talk with The Mix and Deborah at Retail and our hotel operator who you're going to meet in a minute. And they're starting to collaborate really early on to make sure technology isn't just geekiness, but it delivers the ease of use.
Correct. And so there's two things that are really paramount on the property. Number one is you need to be connected. I mean, this is a global economy. People come on property. We still use our iPhones or our Samsung Galaxies. We still want to be able to watch videos, even though I'm in the middle Belize. So we
Yep.
can't frustrate curate that. And so today we have the best Wi-Fi on the entire island of Ambergris Key. And
that's the good news.
And we've got the Rum and Bean.
Yeah.
And people, what happens at the Rum and Bean? People come to the Rum and Bean because they want to have the best Wi-Fi. And so
I think the Rum and Bean is the first place in Belize to have USB chargers in the wall.
That's
right?
correct. So we thought about it. We're like, hey, you can go charge your USB here and you can download. And so I go in there every day when I'm on property, and it is littered with people who are just there getting their iPhones recharged, and they love that. And so that's good. We want to be known for that, right?
And
so
the
we're
good
the place,
coffee too.
And
yeah.
the good, well, and excellent rum as well. But people are coming also for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is that we've got some kind of very innovative thoughts about how do we use technology to engage in those 6 core values that we have, Robert, because that it's the traveler who's coming down there, and the traveler is coming for 7 to 10 days. They're coming with their family or their significant other or their spouse, and they want to have a great adventure. And we want to make sure that we can do as much as we can to very clearly curate for them the best experience in Belize. And so the new tech group that we've got coming in, which is Gear Cloud Labs.
Say it again.
Say Gear Cloud Labs. Say it five times fast. They're brilliant, and they come out of Silicon Valley, and they also come out of the Boston Silicon Gulch as well. And they're really about how do we take technology and extend our customers' experience where we can offer them services and amenities prior to coming online and coming on property, and doing it post property. So
yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about this.
We'll talk to you about it.
It's just really starting in its infancy, but it's super exciting. And then finally, I guess last but not least, we've been searching for a hotel operator for quite some time. Although we have a lot of real estate and development experience, we have 0 hotel experience unless you count staying in hotels. And so we've been looking for just the right partner. And the search started with someone who was big enough to have experience, small enough to have agility. We interviewed a whole bunch of firms, narrowed it down to 8, narrowed that down to 3, added one more in the mix. Anyway, at the end of the day, we've finally come up with a great solution, and the company's called Scout Hotels. Scout Hotels is a relatively new company, just a few years old, with just a few properties, 7 or 8 properties, but the experience in the team is amazing.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We talk about it with it's kind of the team of misfit toys.
The island of the misfit toys.
The island of misfit toys, because when you go back and you look at this whole team that we put together, Robert, it's all people who have been tremendously successful in their careers. They're all people who have 20 to 40 years of experience, all of them who are brilliant, and all of them who really are looking at the next chapter of their lives saying, well, how can I go really make a difference and take what I've learned and actually apply it in a new way within the industry? And then they look at Mahogany Bay and they go, wow, that's what I want to go do. And so Scout is absolutely that.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got a guy who's coming out with over 40 years of being a general manager, an executive manager in hospitality. He's run properties from 200 rooms to 1,400 rooms. He understands to running an entire portfolio to where I've run all of the Pacific for a very large brand as well. So understands how to manage, understands how to run money. That's table stakes for them. So they're like, we understand how to go do that stuff. We understand how to go operate that thing. But what we're excited about is how do we go take that and create a whole new experience for people? How do we really go take those core 6 values and create a totally different model? How do we go beat Bill Marriott at his own game?
Well, and what's great about Scout is within the ranks, first of all, it's a fairly small, fairly flat organization, but they have people with backgrounds from Hilton and Starwood and Marriott and years. One of their general managers is extraordinary.
Oh, we were blown away by him.
Amazing guy, great leader, 35 years with Marriott, international with Marriott. So why did he decide to come to a small hotel brand? He got tired of living out of a suitcase.
He did.
Right? And moving every year for another job. He's like, I'd like to settle down a little bit. I'd like to apply myself. And yet at Scout, he wasn't at this meeting because he was at 2 of the other properties this time when we were here. And so just their whole team is like that. We've now had a chance to stay in a few of their properties. And what's really interesting, they don't have a cookie cutter approach. Every property is not the same. They have small properties, 10 rooms. They have large property, 300 rooms. They have high end, $2,000 a night.
Yep.
They have fairly modest end, $79 a night. And yet what ties it together is this great attitude of service and a can-do behavior.
And you know what else is good, Robert? Bottom line. Because, they understand there's a lot of operators who will be like, well, we're just going to spend the owner's money and we don't really care about the returns.
Right.
And it's like you go with a Marriott, they're like, well, we're going to take 15% and we're just, we are what we are and we don't really care. The other side of it is they understand the bottom line. They understand how to make money. They understand how resorts make money. They understand about how you option people, how you use concierge to go do that, how you use food and beverage. They understand how you properly manage and use property management in order to do the best return for the investor. And
another super exciting thing about them is when they took over, say, the hotel we're at right now, about 10% of the business was group sales, weddings and business conferences. Today it's almost 40%, and they really are driving that traffic. It's great business because it's food and beverage, it's people on property, it's heads and beds. It's also return business and referral business. And so they have recognized the opportunity in Belize, as we've talked about, to make it really a group travel destination, and that's a big important part. And the biggest thing they do is they drive ADR, average daily rate. And more importantly, a metric the hotel business uses is RevPAR. What RevPAR is occupancy, how full a hotel is, times the average daily rate, or ADR, gets you what you're interested in return. They are masters at driving ADR. Every property they've taken over, they took over in some level of distress, and even if it wasn't a lot of distress, they have bumped occupancy, bumped rate, delivered a better experience. And their TripAdvisor rate has gone up.
And the way they can do that, Robert, is they understand systems. And so the good news is that when you come out of 40 years with a Starwood and a Marriott and a they all have great information technology systems which they use to steer the boat. So they understand where they are 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months out into their revenue streams, and how they then bob and weave to make sure that they've got the occupancy and the ADR. Whereas we talked to a lot of operators who really were flying in the dark about where they were going and kind of going on a wish and a prayer about how are we going to go fit the heads in the beds and who are they going to be and how do we go model it. Scout isn't that way. We also found that they're just a great partnership because they're a company that is agile and growing, and they look at the current 7 or 8 properties. They're currently inking a very interesting deal that we can probably tell them later about, but they're with a very big name golf group. They have a very clear understanding about who they want to go be. And they want to go have no more than 15 to 20 properties in the next 5 years. They're very clear about who they want to go do business with as far as owners are, and that they look at their portfolio of owners is they want owners that are feeding back into their system that allows them to go be the best that they could be. So they look at their existing portfolio as being incubating the next group of managers that are going to get blown out into the future properties. And so when we're here today, we're actually meeting with the people who are incubating in Cape Cod, who are going to be down in Belize a year from now. And they're already incubating those people that are already going to be our opening team, because they're already learning all of the trade secrets that need to be done to go build the fabric and the muscle to be the best in Belize.
Well, and we've had just an amazing course in the last couple of weeks learning about the opening of a hotel. Now here's what's interesting. None of the Scout hotels have opened up brand new, and yet they have a ton of their team members that have been part of hotel openings, not just at the general manager level, but all the way down to on the ground, in the restaurants, all of that. They're going to bring an amazing team, and so we'll be talking through timelines and hiring practices and all of that. They've been to Belize, very excited about the project. In fact, in the video update, you'll get a chance to meet Robin Kirk, their main guy, who's going to share with you what his thoughts are, but super excited about the direction that we're going to go with Scout. It's one of the most exciting pieces of news we have to deliver.
It is. What a partner. What a partner.
Yeah, very excited about that. So that's kind of where we're going. Let's talk about where we've been. So far, we have the first part of Street 3. built. All the units are landed. The 75th home came down the pike that last month, and we're on the way to number 100. $16.5 million in real estate has been built now on Street 3 from February of 2013, kind of the initial sales, long before production, until last month. Now, what about Street 2? Street 2, we have just over $11 million already, and everything is on track. We're at this pace going to deliver all the units by the first quarter of next year. Still a few lots remaining, about 14 lots as of this taping, still available on Street 2, and that's really it for the first phase of the resort.
That's correct. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what we've seen is, I mean, it's a lot easier to sell when you've got 100 units on the ground, because the people who came out in the very beginning when it was barren and it was just one little building sitting there all but remember that, Robert?
Many of you saw
an
artist rendition and a couple of buildings on the ground, and thankfully now when someone comes through the gates, there's more than 100 units, 100 keys there right now, and it brings up a really good point, which is you only get one chance to make a first impression. We originally thought, as we talked at the beginning, that we'd provide some overflow when the popular hotels got open. But what we've learned from dealing with all the professionals involved is that it is critical in the age of TripAdvisor that we start well. We can't have a misstep. We can't be under construction while we're trying to put people in rooms. There can't be noise and dust and all that stuff that there is. It's got to have the right amenity set. It's got to open right. So let's talk about opening right versus opening soon.
Yep, and it's critical because it was the Scout was very clear. Is that you can not, if you open wrong, then you will spend 3 to 5 years fighting your way back to an ADR.
Yeah.
Because if you go in and you can't hide on the internet, there is no way to hide. And so if you open and you get a bunch of 1 and 2 stars, and you opened where you were hoping your ADR was going to be in $200, but because of TripAdvisor and everything else, you're fighting back and you're getting down to 140, and you've got to go push yourself out. It takes a long time for the internet to forget, and so you just cannot fight your way back out of it. And so it was absolutely critical that we have the right product. It has to be done. It needs to be clean. It needs to be perfect, and it needs to be ready for opening. It's just like a debutante ball, right? You got to go out right. You get only one time to walk down that staircase and be a debutante.
Well, and one of the things they insisted on was a third-party market report, a market study done by a group that all they do is hotel studies for big brands and boutique brands, and this was important for us. We knew the market. We knew what was the demand there, but we had to have it verified. Yeah. And the great news, so just hear this if you're a little worried about the opening being pushed out, ADR is a lot higher than we pro forma. Now, we're not going to share that number with you right now, but just understand that this professional third-party group who charged us $25,000 plus expenses to get this report done has come back, reviewed the market and the competition, and said, what you performing in ADR is below what the market should be. And that's great news, but it also means that because of the reality of recruiting people and putting the systems in place, staffing and training for a world-class resort, we're not going to open as soon as we wish we would. And I know you want to see income soon, and so do we. Believe me, we're on the same side of the table as you are as far as the income coming in. Right. But to get the most income long-term, we have to just take a step back to take a step forward. So let's talk about the timeline. That's what everyone's interested in. Right now, immediately, there's already the incubation that Beth talked about. We're outlining who the new hires are, who we need at the resort and why. We're also designing and starting to put together the systems. And the systems are the things some of us have talked about in the past. If you've been on a field trip, the fact that hotel television and telephone is not the same as going to Best Buy and buying a TV. Right. It's all the infrastructure for IT. It's the reservation systems. It's the feedback and micros POS systems. Right. All that stuff's being designed right now. Next quarter, we're going to continue that process while the Studio Sky team is continuing to do the design work. In Q4, new building design, including getting the single-family houses off the ground and all this commercial space. By Q1 of next year, we'll be landing the completed units on Street 2.
Street 2, so we'll be done on Street 2, landing them by the beginning of Q1. And then after that, what we need to do in Q2 is that's when we start putting the FF&E. Many of you, what you will be seeing is there's going to be communications that have been going out in the last couple of days where we're turning over product now. So product is getting turned over.
And let's talk about what that means when we say turned over. Up until now, for instance, insurance. All of the properties have been covered by our master insurance policy, but it has a maximum, and we're starting to approach that. So what needs to happen is that now that if your building is done and finished and complete, you'll need to be responsible for the insurance.
Right.
The utilities, well, there's not much in the way of utilities. That won't happen for a while, but there will be a transition eventually to utilities. The good news is now there's hardly any being used, but that's going to happen. FF&E, you've got all of the furniture, fixtures, equipment, sheets, glasses, all that stuff, and a lot of it has a long lead time, which is why we need to order it now.
It's tremendous. I mean, when you start to look at all the operating equipment and FF&E that needs to be put into the buildings, number one, we've got to go source it. We've got to go put bids out to everybody. A lot of this is very long lead time stuff. I mean, it's designer products. Some of it's 6 to 9 months that we've got to go out. And a lot of it in order to get the right product that is hotel. You just don't go, most of this you can't get in Belize. And so you've got to go, your supply chain is what it is, and you've got to get it into the country, and then you've got to move it all through, get it through customs, etc. And a lot of this is coming from international sources. And so that means you've got shipping channels that can be 1 to 2 to 3 months in shipping channels. So we're starting to order. We've already placed a lot of orders already. You will see invoices going out because FF&E is on the we're on the march, and so that's you can't. Like they said, we're already late on some of the product for FF&E.
Absolutely. One more thing in transition is just the maintenance fees. When the resort opens, there's a whole maintenance fee schedule to cover all the common area charges and so forth. Between now and then, there'll be an interim program, but we definitely have to staff the gate, and there's things that need to be done. So you'll be hearing about that, and you'll receive correspondence. If you're just in contract and newly, not so, but for those of you that are involved. Now again, some of you who are watching this have invested through somebody else. Well, a person that's come down and got involved, the manager of your investment. You won't have to worry about these parts of it, but we just wanted you to know. And then the other thing that'll happen in the second quarter of next year is all the key managers and many of the key hires on the ground in Belize have to get hired. They start the training, they start putting together the systems, menus, all of that stuff, so that in Q3 we can open the resort.
Yep.
So we're looking at a fall opening date, which I know is not what anyone wants to hear, but believe me, long term, we're all going to be glad that we opened right instead of opened early. It's going to make better sense in the long run, and we're going to drive the ADR for sure.
Absolutely.
So in the context of that, some other things have changed. We were going to open with a pool and a coffee shop. Again, getting counsel from people that are world class at this, we have changed that plan. So when the resort opens for overnight accommodations, what are we going to have? Well, the first big change is the lobby.
And it's going to be great. We've gone through the entire charrette of it, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. At the end of the road, it's going to be like an iconic building at the end. Very British colonial in style. It's going to be a 2-story structure. You're going to enter its lobby, front of house. There's your check-in, your concierge. You walk through it. There's a huge bar. There's a restaurant, and it overlooks Mahogany Bay.
Right over the marina.
Yep, you go with a business center, so it's very traditional, like most of us would expect, as far as the amenities that are required for any type of really good front of house today. You go upstairs, and then it's Robert's favorite place.
The conference center. We moved the conference center to upstairs. There's going to be enough room for weddings and social events and all that, as well as business meetings. Now, who knows? Maybe it'll grow, and that'll be another important part. We might have a second phase of conference center, but we'll start out with at least 3,000 square feet of conference space, if not more, in the visible sections. So it's going to be very fluid. Be overflow for restaurants and so forth. Also the ability to close out the parts of the pool, the deck of the restaurant for functions that surround group travel and team travel. So excited about that. Obviously, the Rum and Bean is open. The Rum and Bean is rocking.
It is.
It's amazingly rocking and crazy. People in there every single morning. We're starting to extend the hours. In a few weeks, we'll open up the Rum and Bean for the rum, not just the bean.
We are.
Yeah, we've been open 6 days a week from 7 a.m. to 3,
now
and we're now shifting.
Now we're 7 days a week, and so we've got Monday covered as well, and we've got a great bartender that's coming on, and so in about 3 weeks we're going to be open 4 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be open until 10 o'clock at night.
Come on by and have a rum.
And the locals can't wait. They're all like, because they've been down there. They've been like, a lot of them, they work during the day. They're like, we can't come down here because we work during the day. When can we come down here when I can bring my family down here? So this will be great, because that's really what it's all about. People are like, oh, you're building a town for tourists. No, we're not. We're building a town for locals and tourists to come to. So we're excited to be able to open the Rum and Bean and to have more than hungry tourists coming in for Wi-Fi and for coffee, but to be able to come down and to have the locals come down on a Sunday afternoon, bring their whole families down there, have a great time. So that's going to be exciting.
As you know, we're going to open the Bay Club. That's the swimming pool and the deck area outlooking Mahogany Bay and the sunset. Gotta have that, gotta have a pool. But in addition to that, what's one of the things that we're missing? And that is beach frontage. It's no secret that Mahogany Bay Village is not on the beach. Well, we fixed that.
We did. And
we're going to open up with the most amazing amenity. It's a beach club.
Yep, the beach club. And so we've got a couple of different strategies to go put that together, but that's high on our list.
You'll be able to take that famous picture with that beautiful gin blue water.
Yep.
And it's exciting. More details on that, but just know that in addition to an amazing bay club with sunset views, we're also going to be on the beach side. Obviously, the Village Green, that's going to be important. And I don't know if that's going to be the name of it necessarily, because we talked a lot about naming and titling and those things this week, but an area, gathering place, central place where a lot of these events are going to happen to start driving traffic down there.
And so just like Boston has Boston Common, just like New York has its own park, Central Park. It's the same thing here, which is you've got to have some kind of a central area where you have a mixed use, where you can have outdoor events, where you can have the local fish market if you want to, where you can do pop-up retail if you want to.
Farmers markets on the weekend. Farmers
markets, et cetera, et cetera. It's multi-use. You can do yoga in the park, whatever you want to start to do. So we'll have the Village Green. On top of that, I think we spoke earlier, but we'll have the general store, which is really the central place. It's where the little post office is. It's where you get your grab and go is. It's the Dean and DeLuca, if you're familiar with that model in New York, but it's a place where you go and you get all of your sundries. You get your quick food, you grab your fruit salad, you grab your your juice bar. All of that is in the general store. And then of course we've got the whole fitness and yoga program, Robert, your favorite, the conference center. And then what we're really excited about too is that we think we've found a great fly fishing operator, and that's one of the things that people love in Belize. Robert, did you know that there's over 200 fly fishing operators in Belize?
It's crazy. Fly fishing is big business, and unlike scuba diving, which is also big business in Belize, scuba divers, if we may generalize, tend not to spend a lot of money on lodging. They spend a lot of money on tanks and dives, but they bunk 4 to a room and they're on the cheap.
Yep.
Well, fly fishermen, not so. We've been studying this industry, and it's huge, and they need to be catered to, and there's a great opportunity. We found a great operator with that passion and experience, and we've actually designed right into the main center kiosk and a marina. Big news on the bay.
Yep.
The bay is being opened up into the main channel, which means that what once was a lake is now going to be direct access to the Caribbean Sea.
And it is. And what's interesting about the fly fishing operator is that they have they've fished everywhere, all around San Pedro, all over along Ambergris Key, and they said the best fly fishing is in Mahogany Bay. And so yeah, it's exciting because we'll have a like the fly lodge that with overlooking the marina, with fly boats there already outfitted to go and leave from there. And that's like just as you come in, you walk into the hotel lobby, you see the bar, which everybody, like Robin says, our operators, like, I need to know where to go to the bathroom or where can I get a drink, and then I want to be able to figure out what can I do. And so there's the pool, there's the bar, there's the restaurant, there's the fishing, there's the scuba, there's the golf cart. I get it. I know what I'm going to do when I'm on property at Mahogany Bay. So that's exciting.
That's a lot more to open with than we had planned, and it means that it's going to take a little bit longer. But again, open right versus open fast. We think it's going to really make a dent right off the start. There are some future amenities though. Right now we're in discussions with a restaurateur who's looking at opening a 140-seat full-service restaurant in addition to the full-service restaurant that the hotel operator will open. So multiple choices. We can't say much else about the operator of the restaurant, but really, really excited about this particular person. And then the kids camp. So when we start out, the kids camp will not be what it once will be, which is, you know, water features and a lot of organized activities and a place where kids and families can go together, or where kids can just go for the day while their parents hang out, right, and have some time off. But to start with, we are going to have kids activities. We'll have a playground area. We'll have volleyball, some things like that to get started. But the big kids camp install will be in the next phase of the resort. And then we're also looking for input as people come in our Discovery Center now to see what kind of amenities are on the top of the list. We talked a lot about amenities this week, and so there's more coming, but that's kind of what we wanted to share with you, that the project has changed, and it's changed, we think, 100% for the better. The only glimmer of bad news is that the revenue isn't going to start as soon as we thought it would. But if everything goes like it looks like it's going to with this team in place, the revenue is going to be even better than we thought it would be, and the long-term prognosis is super healthy. So we're very excited to have you involved in the project. We wanted you to hear it from us. We wanted you to get a chance to get your mind around some of the changes. You'll be hearing more about this in the update videos that we do every month. This coming update video, you're going to get a chance to meet one of the principals of Scout. You're going to get a chance to hear more about what's happening with the construction of the project. But there's so much going on. You had to hear what we've been working on for the past several months.
And we thank you for your time. We know we've gone a long ways, but it's important to us that we communicated to you directly about the change and how we thought about it, how we got here. This wasn't something that we just did on the back of a napkin. I mean, this was with a lot of serious consideration and with the long view. Robert and I have been going to Belize for 9 years, and we're going to go for another 9 and another 9 and another 9. And so we're there to stay. We know that you're there to stay, and it's in our best interest together, collectively, to make the right decisions that give us the most long-term return on our investments. And we know that what we've done, we feel very solid that we've made the right decision.
We hope you feel that way too, and we thank you for your time and attention, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.